Okay, welcome. So we're headed into week 3, or class 3. We're going to start the same way we have in the other weeks, which is on our back, some support for our head if we need it, and just coming to this position with knees bent and feet planted on the floor. And in that position, we will just start to work on some breath awareness. So you can close the eyes while you're here. That usually just helps us settle into the body a little bit more. And before you go anywhere, just start noticing where the breath is going in the body. Notice the quality of your breath. Notice if the breath is smooth and fluid. And then if it's comfortable for you, just place the hands onto the low belly. And without willfully breathing or without too much force, just notice that the belly is expanding as you inhale and descending as you exhale. Just for our most efficient form of breathing. And then you might be able to feel the expansion of the ribs. We want the movement of the diaphragm to help the ribs move as well. They're going to move slightly forward and back, but they're also going to move laterally out to the sides. And then because we've closed the eyes, we're able to easily gauge if we're working the body too hard. So if the eyes can stay nice and quiet, especially at the top of the inhalation, then we know we're not forcing the breath. Shoulders stay quiet, the jaw stays relaxed. And then we'll review some of the things we've done in past classes. So we're going to connect to the pelvic floor, and if it's new for you and you're just joining us today for the first time, it's perfectly okay. So we just want to bring our awareness to our pelvic floor and the muscles that support our pelvis and our torso and our abdominal organs. And those muscles move synergistically with the diaphragm. So we've talked about that before as well. So when the diaphragm moves down as you inhale, the pelvic floor moves slightly down and away, or releases. And when we exhale, belly goes back, diaphragm lifts back up, and pelvic floor lifts ever so subtly, or engages. So see if you are able to connect to that awareness. Essentially what we're doing is working the pelvic floor on purpose. So when everything is functioning optimally, the pelvic floor works with the diaphragm and we don't need to worry about it. But when there's been trauma, surgeries, treatments, we can lose some of that optimal function. And so we're just trying to create the environment for the potential to be able to both engage and release through the pelvic floor. And we'll try to take this awareness into the whole rest of our practice. It's easy to connect to it here while we're quite still, but we're going to work at adding it to movement and learning how it can translate into daily life to help with some of those side effects and even helping with back pain. We know there's a connection, a correlation between back pain and pelvic floor efficiency. So we're going to move on into something called reclined paper slides. So we stay in this position, and if it helps, you can open the eyes here, or you can still keep them closed. So we did do this in week 2, but just to review, all you're going to do, 1 foot at a time. As you exhale, you're going to barely pick the foot up off the floor. It's going to be maybe 1/4 of an inch. You pick it up so subtly that you can still feel the friction of your yoga mat. And you just move back and forth. If your exhale is longer, you'll hold the foot up off the ground. Yeah, that's right. Good. That's perfect height. And then you'll replace it as you're inhaling. Long, slow, smooth, steady exhalation lifts the foot. And you can do all on one side first, or you can alternate back and forth. It's completely up to you. But just keep that lift really low. And it's slow and it's controlled because it's core work. We call it paper slides because we literally just want the lift enough that we could slide a piece of paper under the foot. And so we're thinking again about moving on exhalation, because that's when we want the pelvic floor to gently lift and engage. And we'll replace on inhalation as the pelvic floor relaxes. Good. Couple more. And then you can bring both feet to the floor, and we'll make our way to sitting. So roll to your side and coming to a seated position. So we'll sit probably on a bolster. And we will sit in a cross-legged position. Of course, if getting to the floor is a challenge, this can also be done sitting on a regular chair. Okay? So all we're going to do is move through torso rolls. So it's kind of like the cat and cow that we've been doing, but we're going to take just our upper body, try to keep the lower body still, and we're going to inhale as we come forward and exhale as we go back. So we're moving through taking the heart forward and then pulling in and rounding the back. You can even take the head down as you come back. Good. Just back and forth. Just getting movement. Now the legs will try and help, and the knees will be wanting to lift. So just try to be aware of it and keeping the body as still and quiet as possible in the lower part. Back and forth. And then just when you get the hang of going one way, we'll try and switch directions. Get the brain working as well. Back and forth. And we can kind of feel how we get quite sticky in around the rib cage area. The body doesn't move as fluidly as we might like it to. Good. Okay, we'll come back to center and we'll switch the cross of our legs. And we will take our hands out in front of us. And we can do this with a strap. If it's not comfortable to grab the hands, we'll press the palms away. And then just make sure if you've reached out that you take the arm bones back into the shoulder sockets before we take the arms up. So they may go partly up, they may be able to open up a little wider. We just want to keep the shoulders relaxed so we're not losing the neck. So keep the shoulder blades nicely on the back. And of course, if the shoulders are a little tighter, it might be easier to take the arms a little wider. Good. Let the shoulders relax if the arms are right overhead so the neck is nice and open. You could turn your head if you need to. Good. Okay, and bring the arms down. We'll switch the cross, so we'll go from the comfortable way to the less, the way that we have to think about it a little more. And now we'll move with our breath, okay? So we're going to inhale and exhale. And inhale. Pelvic floor softens and relaxes. And exhale. Pelvic floor and diaphragm lift subtly. A couple more times. We know if chronic pain is an issue, sometimes this dynamic movement is a little better for the pain and the pain sensors. Just keep the body moving. One more. And down. Good. And release. We'll come to hands and knees. So you're welcome to pad the knees if you need to. You can just place the bolster or the blanket under them. And of course, if the knees can't be on the ground at all, we can do this pose with the knees floating as well. So moving through cat and cow, which we've done at each class now, our inhale takes us into the cow or the dog side where the back is arched, gaze slightly forward, and the exhale takes us into the cat side of the pose with the back rounded. So just moving back and forth between the two. Inhale, pelvic floor will relax, and exhale. Pelvic floor will engage slightly. Back and forth. Try to press down evenly into the hand. And we want to make sure, especially because we tend to lean to the outsides of the hands, that there's weight through the index finger and thumb. Yeah, that's it, good. So we know the upper back rounds well. When we're in the rounding side, see if you can really press into the lower back and have it really rounding and drawing up as well. And then we'll meet back in a neutral spine. Okay, and from this neutral spine position, there may still be a little arch in the low back. We're going to take the right leg up and try and keep those hip points facing the ground, so all 5 toes face the ground. That's it, Peter, great. Okay, and then from a really steady place there without any big shifts, we're going to take the left arm. So opposite arm to leg, and just steady breathing. Working on some core stability here. Great job. And both limbs back to center. And of course, if we can't kneel, we can come to a chair for this pose. We'll switch sides. So now it's going to be left leg up. And then right arm lifting. Excellent. Really good, guys. And back to center. Okay, so again, for those people who dynamic movement is a better option, we're going to add some movement. And we're going to move on exhalation. Okay, so we're just going to switch sides, back and forth. So it's going to be inhale, tabletop. Exhale, extend. Inhale, tabletop. Exhale, extend. Back and forth. Moving on the exhalation so that the pelvic floor engages and helps support our movement. Good. And trying to just shift left and right as little as possible. That's great. One more time on each side. So we're going to move through a flowing forward hero. So once again, we go from tabletop all the way back. And then exhale back up. Inhale back. Exhale to tabletop. Using a bolster behind the knees. If the knees don't like that much flexion, we won't come as far back. Inhale back. Exhale to tabletop. So you can decide how much energy and effort you can put into this. When you come back to tabletop, you can really engage the arm muscles like you're dragging your mat towards you. Or if energy is a bit lower, you just nice and easily come back to tabletop. Pelvic floor is going to release as you go back. We don't always breathe this way in this pose, but because we're doing pelvic floor on purpose, that's why we want to inhale back. Good. And then we'll meet in neutral again. And from here, we're going to take the right foot forward into a lunge. So our first priority is that our knee stacks right over our ankle. Okay, and then that we keep some weight into the ball under the big toe rather than hang out in the outside of the foot. We'll stay really grounded. And then we'll just walk that back knee back a bit, see if this left back hip will open up a little. And if it won't, that's okay, but we'll just see. So with the knee down, that will be our inhalation. And then we'll tuck the toes, and as we exhale, we'll lift the knee up and extend. Inhale, knee down. And exhale to lift up, push back through the heel, open up the back knee. Excellent. Moving in your own time now. Doing 3 or 4, maybe even 5 more. Lifting on the exhalation. And releasing on the inhalation. So your hold in that full lunge really depends on how long your breath is. Okay, before we switch to the other side, I'll just show you guys. It looks really good, but I want to show you one thing Oftentimes, if we're tighter through the pelvis and particularly the low back, what we do to find this position is we lift and then straighten. So what we want to do is try and keep this pelvis down as much as possible and move from here to drawing that thigh bone up into the hip socket. So the pelvis doesn't lift too much. And of course, if getting to the floor is an issue, I will just demo this on a chair as well. You want to have the foot grounded. So if you can't reach the floor, you need to bring the floor up to you. And we do the same thing here. So it would be knee bending, coming down on inhalation, and drawing back and straightening on the exhalation. So about the same amount on the other side for you guys here. Posture is really good, and your alignment is also really good. Stacking that knee right over the ankle. And then it's the back knee that gets to touch down and lift up. That's it. Good. Couple more. Pretty big hip opener. When you've done about as many on that side, we will come out of this lunge position. You can just bring the back leg forward and then we'll slowly come up to standing. So we will start looking for our mountain pose. Okay, so we talked before about having fairly square ankles if it's available in the body, and then engaging the leg muscles so that we're standing tall. Okay, and we're going to go back into those heel raises. So we've been doing these heel raises, which is more of a functional movement type of thing really than a yoga thing. Sometimes it helps to have fingertips at the wall and be sliding up the wall. But essentially what we're doing is drawing straight lines with the heels till we come way, way high up on our toes. That's where the balance part gets tricky. Okay, we know we have a habit of going to the outside of our feet. And we often take the heels around and up. So we just want to try and work at coming straight up. It's always a challenge without a wall. Keeping weight under the ball, under the big toe. Can you feel the body go out to the sides? Yeah. Just keep focusing on the ball under the big toe. And then if you are using a wall, you just want to make sure that you're going up the wall versus leaning forward to the wall. Good. Okay, we'll try to combine with our breath now, so we'll pay a little more attention now that our body knows what movement we want. And we'll try to inhale while the feet are flat, and exhale into our lift so that the core helps support that movement. Super hard not to go out to the outsides of the feet. Moving on exhalation. Okay, and we're going to come back to our mountain pose and move into half sun salutations. So I will use a chair Some people don't want to take the head lower than the heart. Okay, so that is what I'll be demoing, just keeping the heart at chest level, or the head at heart level for the first few. Okay, so we'll inhale, sweep the arms up, and then we'll exhale, fold at the hip, come forward. Inhale, lift up a bit, get long in the spine. Exhale, fold a little more deeply. And then inhale to rise all the way back up. Arms can sweep up again. And exhale, hands to the heart. Good. Inhale. Exhale, fold. Inhale, hands to the shins. Lift and lengthen the spine. Exhale, fold. And then strong legs, press the feet down. Inhale to rise. Exhale, hands to the heart. Good, we'll do a couple more. Exhale, fold. Inhale, lift and lengthen the spine. Exhale, fold deeply. Inhale, rise. Exhale, hands to the heart. Good, one more. Inhale. Exhale, fold. Inhale, get long in the spine. Exhale, fold deeply. And inhale, strong legs to protect the back. Sweep back up. And exhale, hands to the heart. Excellent. Okay. From probably more towards the front of our mats, we're going to step back into a warrior one with the left leg going back. Okay, so if balance is a challenge, what we want to do is take the front foot more, well, in my case the right foot's forward, so it's more to the right. If the left foot's forward, it's more to the left. Just gives us a wider base, okay? And all we're going to do here is sweep the arms up, straighten the front leg, bring the arms back down to our lunge position, okay? So again, ankle is right under the knee. Up, straighten the front leg, and back down. Okay, this time we'll add the breath. So just take an inhale here. Exhale, straighten up. Inhale, come down. Exhale, diaphragm and pelvic floor lift. Inhale, pelvic floor and diaphragm move down and soften. Back and forth. Inhale. And exhale. And then we're going to step forward. Good work. Nice job. Okay, second side. So in my case, right leg's going back. Just make sure it's your opposite leg going back. And then same thing, okay? We're going to find the movement first. So we'll come up, and then we'll go down. Keeping that back leg nice and strong and straight. Come up. Inhale down. Yeah, balance gets a little tricky here. Exhale up. Inhale down. Back and forth. Good. Good, and then after your next exhalation, you'll step forward. Excellent. Okay, we will come into tree pose, a little balance. Now that our core is really quite fired up, can help support us into our balance. So we're going to bend the right leg and take it out to the side. Sometimes the hip allows us to take it all the way out. Sometimes it's just a little bit off to the side. So whatever allows us to keep the pelvis facing forward. Okay? And then if our balance is steady today, we might take the hands to the heart here and maybe lift the foot up. Some people may bring the foot right up. Don't worry too much about that unless you can do so with the pelvis staying nice and level. Just find your range of motion wherever it may be. And then maybe the arms can go overhead. Beautiful. And then we'll bring the arms back down and the foot down. Okay? And same thing on the other side. So we'll decide where the foot's going to go, how far out the knee is able to go. Find our steady gaze, our steady breath. And then maybe arms overhead. Throat still open. Don't let the throat collapse closed. Good. Hands back and foot back. Okay. So we talked a little bit last week about the foot shaking and how coming back into the ball under the big toe can really help keep you grounded through that foot. So I want to do this pose again. This time when we do it, now our body knows, okay, or our brain knows, this is what they're expecting of me. So we can come back into this pose, only this time we're going to challenge our body, because rarely do we need balance to just stand perfectly still. Balance and proprioception help us as we move through our daily life. So we need balance as we're moving, so we're just going to add. Now our temptation, as soon as we wobble a bit, is to touch, touch, touch. But just see if you can recover a little bit. We'll just move around, and then we'll come back. Okay, so right foot where you are comfortable. And then just play with that notion of not being so balanced. Yeah, and we might come right out of the pose, that's okay. But we want balance as we get out of cars, as we go up the stairs, as we slip on ice. So we want to be able to move and balance. Excellent. Hands back to the heart. Okay, another side. It's kind of like the idea of real trees. And it's those that can bend and blow in the wind that make it through the storms. Adding some movement. Just challenge the body. It's tricky. Good. Keep your gaze steady. Your gaze is probably the biggest piece of balance. Okay, we're going to come back to the floor. If there's blood pressure issues or spinal issues, we want to support the head. So just lie here for the moment. You can close the eyes again, find a comfortable place for the feet. And then let the breath slow down a bit from those standing and balance postures. Again, just noticing the subtle movement of the belly with each breath. Feel it rise up as you inhale and fall back as you exhale. back to the lower jaw. Just make sure the lower hinge of your jaw is soft and relaxed. Front of the neck is relaxed. So your feet are going to be about hip distance apart. Okay? Sometimes in yoga we say heels in line with the sitting bones. So that's the position we'll find. And what we're going to do is we're going to take the hips up, lifting them up into the air. And then we're going to bring them back down, but we're going to try and go down vertebrae by vertebrae with the tailbone touching last. So you have to round the pelvis a little bit. Okay, and just up and down, moving dynamically, lifting, and then coming back down slowly. And again, once the body and the brain sync and the body knows what's expected, we'll start to add breath. And what we're going to do is inhale as we come down and exhale to lift. So as you reach the pelvis up, that's when the glutes will engage slightly, pelvic floor will lift on exhalation. And then inhale, everything's going to soften and relax as you make your way down. Okay, this is still core work, so we want to move nice and slowly and mindfully. Really good. Make sure as you lift the inner thighs, imagine there's something between the inner thighs and you're pressing into it slightly, so thighs don't need to actually physically come together, but the muscles engage like they're working towards each other. And press into those four corners of the feet we've talked about. Good, and then we'll rest on our backs. Finishing that last one. And then we'll take one foot up off the ground so that we can hug that knee in. And the other one up off the ground so we can hug that knee in. And we're just going to hug both knees in as we breathe out. Try and keep the head and shoulders settled on the floor. And then as we inhale, the knees float away from us a little bit. We still have our hands on them. And as we tight, squeezing them to the belly. Back and forth. Just nice and easy movements. If it feels good, you can even do a few knee circles. Just taking the legs out. Just really moving that thigh bone in the hip socket that helps free up our low back and make everything feel a bit looser. You can hug the knees and rock side to side. Just nice and easy movement. And then you're going to stretch out for Shavasana. So you can definitely place a bolster under your thighs if that is more comfortable for you. Sometimes helps release through the low back a little bit more. You can put a blanket on you to stay warm. But we're just going to come into a comfortable reclined position. A little bit of space between the limbs and the body usually. Though in a therapeutic context, we really just want you to find comfort in this pose. And then let the breath slow down. In Shavasana, we do not regulate the breath, so if it goes more shallow than it does in our practice, that's perfectly fine. Let it fall into a natural rhythm. We're just going to let the body relax and begin to assimilate all the work that you've done. Sometimes we need the use of visualization or imagination to help the body relax. So just move through the body scan with me, trying your best to help facilitate a place of relaxation in each of the body parts that we go through. So bring your awareness down to the soles of your feet and just feel or imagine the soles of the feet softening. All those little muscles and soft tissue in the tops of the feet releasing. Toes gently curling. Become aware of the lower legs. And the upper legs. Feel both legs fully soften. If you can really connect, you may get the sense that the bones of the legs can get a heavy relaxation, and all the muscles and tissues release, become light. Try to feel or imagine the same at the pelvis. Pelvis drawing down into the mat or support beneath you. All those muscles that support our torso. Really getting to let go now. Feel the breath barely moving in the belly now. Every exhalation helping to cultivate a sense of ease. Feel the gentle floating action at the rib cage. Feel the movement at the chest. Let the shoulders get that same heavy, relaxed sense. The upper arms. The lower arms. Feeling both arms become heavily relaxed. Feel the hands soften. Fingertips gently curling. that softness move up through the neck, settling into the lower jaw. Allowing the whole face to be light and released. Eyes soft. Allow the whole body to relax. And for the next couple minutes, allow the whole body to rest. The breath to deepen slightly. Just feel the belly expand a bit more as you inhale. Pull back a bit more as you exhale. Start to wiggle toes and fingers. Move the body a little bit. You can hug the body in, or you can stretch it out, whichever feels best for you. We're going to slowly make our way up to our seated position. And we'll sit for a couple minutes of breath work. So just coming into that seated pose, trying to keep the spine as upright as possible. Just let the eyes close again if they did open. Find a comfortable place for the hands. Some people like them on the knees. Other people like to turn the palms up and pull the elbows a little closer to the ribs. So just see what feels comfortable for you and what facilitates a nice tall spine. And then let's just softly and gently become aware of the breath again. And as we have in the past couple weeks, we're just going to focus on feeling the breath move in and out through the nostrils to start. Moving up through the nostrils as we breathe in, and gliding back out as we breathe out. Noticing the sensations of the breath, maybe the temperature, slightly cooler as we breathe in, slightly warmer as we breathe out. Just nice and easy. And then maybe following the path of the breath a bit. So feeling the breath move in through the nostrils, through the throat, and into the chest. And from the chest through the throat, back out the nostrils as we breathe out. That may be enough for you. If you have a little bit fuller capacity, you may feel the inhale move through the nose, the throat, into the chest, and even into the belly. And exhale, leaving the belly through the chest, throat, and out the nose. You see if you can stay connected to that fluid pathway for another couple breaths. Riding the wave of your own breath and the rhythm of your own breath. After the next exhalation, we'll take the hands to the heart in that prayer position that we used in tree pose. And we'll take one more full breath in. You can exhale out the mouth if you like. And then let the eyes open.